What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing about some of the potential trades that you guys would do for this Chicago Bulls team. I did make a video reacting to questionable trades for the Chicago Bulls, in which we reacted to an article, and I did ask in that comment section and in a community post as well to feel free to let me know your trade scenarios that you would bring to the Chicago Bulls team. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you would do some of these trade scenarios that will be presented to you guys in this video. You obviously know which trades I'll be talking about at certain times and stuff of that nature. I will try to make this as clear as possible, whether I like a deal or I don't like a deal. Some of them will be hard to talk about. Some of them will pretty much be straightforward. Some of them I've already talked about before. But nevertheless, I did feel like, again, we're getting to this point with the Bulls news and the Bulls videos. It's more creative based than news based, and the reason why is it's very slow sports news for the Chicago Bulls. There's not much to talk about. There's not much going on at the moment. So until we wait for the preseason and the training camps and the interviews and the regular season, we're gonna have to get through this slow period of time in which we're talking about and I guess creating scenarios for the Chicago Bulls. So all of that is very, very interesting. So the first thing I'm going to talk about in relation to trades was a potential package in which the Chicago Bulls could trade Coby White for either Jared Vanderbilt or Maxi Kleber, one of those two options. I assume that would be adding more into this than straight swaps, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But we'll talk about those two players first and foremost. So, Jared Vanderbilt is a guy I've always been a big fan of. He currently plays on the Utah Jazz as of now. He did play for the Minnesota Timberwolves last season. He did sign a contract extension with the Minnesota Timberwolves last season, but he was part of the big trade that ended up landing Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So he now plays on the Utah Jazz. His season averages is 7 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, or 8.5 rebounds per game, 1.3 assists, shooting 58.7% from the field, 14.3% from the three-point line. Known as a power forward, kind of plays in that power forward position. I think him and Karl-Anthony Towns used to have a very good connection, in which Jared Vanderbilt is not a great shooter and Karl-Anthony Towns can stretch the floor. So they kind of played in each other's positions. I see Karl-Anthony Towns at times playing more power forward than center, and I also see sometimes Vanderbilt playing more center than power forward. But that's very interesting. He's 6'9", 214 pounds. Again, he's a very strong character. And I think he brings a lot of good work to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I think he'll bring a lot of good work to the Utah Jazz. It's not work in terms of scoring. I don't think he's a primary scorer of any sorts, but he's definitely not going to be a guy that, I guess, will be disrespected. I think you can clearly see the value that he would bring. He's a very good rebounder as well. 23 years old. There's a lot to like about Jared Vanderbilt. And it's a different position as well, which I think is very, very important. There is a little bit of confusion here as to why I personally would find it difficult to trade Coby White for Jared Vanderbilt. One, I'm positive Utah, you will say no of this, and Utah would want more. So you'd have to incline a second player into this maybe. Maybe it's a pick, because Jared Vanderbilt brings a lot defensively that Coby White might not be able to offer the Utah Jazz. We can offer a guard to Utah, we can offer a scoring guard to Utah, but we won't be able to offer what Jared Vanderbilt would provide for them as well. I think Utah would ask more from us, in all honesty. But we kind of need a scorer. We need a three-point shooter, in my opinion. Is one of the biggest needs that we have. We've got Andre Drummond at the center position that will hopefully improve the physicality. I can understand why many people say we don't have that big power forward that will really help us, and Jared Vanderbilt fits that mold. But I feel like we're trading one I guess, issue for another issue. You trade Coby White, you're trading a 12-point per game scorer that has potential to improve a little bit higher than that for Jared Vanderbilt, who will bring his defense, will bring his tenacity, will bring his size, will bring that power forward that we need, but we lose more scoring. And that's scoring that we might not be able to get back with other players. So that's very, very interesting to note as well. Would I do this trade? Personally, I think I will do this trade. I think there are problems with it, obviously, and I think we do need to find solutions around that if we were to do a trade like this. But I do feel like the positives you get out of Jared Vanderbilt would be very interesting and something I am very intrigued on. That's my personal opinion, and I'm just worried about what else we'd have to give. If we go swap for swap, I would probably do that. But if we have to offer a little bit more, that's when the questions begin to ask. That's when it's whether or not it's going to be easy or not to make that deal go across the line. Maxi Kleber. Maxi Kleber is 30 years old, ladies and gentlemen, has 5 years experience in the NBA, is going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2023, is a good three-point shooter. I've mentioned his stats already before. I don't have them in front of me at the moment, but I guess many people would call him an underrated defender, but I've heard that before with Nikola Vucevic, so I'd like to see Maxi Kleber, I guess, do it on the Bulls before I just say, yes, he's an underrated defender and stuff like that. Personally, I don't think he is, but at the end of the day, many people say that he is, and who am I to say that they're wrong at the moment when I just don't have enough experience watching Maxi Kleber every single game. But when it comes to Coby White and Maxi Kleber, I've always been an advocate of we need more for Maxi Kleber. Maxi Kleber is a good player, brings us a different position, brings us the shooting that we need. Makes sense in every single way in that department. But Maxi Kleber is 30 years old and he's not the player that Coby White is. Coby White is the better player. You're trading for a worse player here, in my opinion. You're also trading for a 1-year potential rental that could occur with Maxi Kleber. So if we want to get this deal over the line with Maxi Kleber, I would recommend that the Bulls ask for a pick in return as well. If that's a second round pick, that's great. If it's a late first rounder, whatever it is, if it's lottery protected, whatever the pick is, I feel like the Chicago Bulls should be asking for a pick in return as well. Because we know that the Dallas Mavericks need a guard. And we know that I think that Coby White's on the trade block. We know that the Bulls are at least listening to trades for Coby White. They may not accept them, but they're at least listening. And I think in order to get a guy like Maxi Kleber, who I'm not too worried that we won't be able to keep him here because I don't think he's going to ask for a lot of money, but he's on an expiring deal, so there's always a risk factor there. You need something else in return for Maxi Kleber. So straight up, which is what this was recommended, I would say no. I don't think Maxi Kleber straight up would work with Coby White. But if you get a pick involved as well, because we know that Coby White is probably the better player right now, and he's also younger, Maxi Kleber brings a different position, brings better shooting, which is something that we need as well, a pure shooter. But at the same time, it is a bit risky just to go for a 30-year-old who might not really have any room to grow outside of what he already is. That's very scary to do. So I'd like a pick in return as well. So I would personally say no to that type of deal. Next up was Coby White for PJ Washington. Again, I'm very sorry for anybody that does like Coby White. A lot of these trades are recommended based on Coby White. It is what it is. He's the type of guy that at the moment has been put in all trade conversations. He's been rumored to trade. And look, personally, I really do like Coby White and I'll be more than happy for him to be here. But at the end of the day, a lot of people just see Coby White getting traded. So Coby White for PJ Washington. I like a lot about PJ Washington, honestly, I really do. He's 23 years old. He's a 6'7" player, could play the power forward position, could play the, some of the shooting guard position. Some people can put him in the small ball center position as well. I personally wouldn't go down that route with the team that we have at the moment. He averages 10.3 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 2.3 assists, shooting 47% from the field, 36.5% from the three-point line. So I think Coby White, in terms of offensively and what he's able to bring, is slightly better than PJ Washington. But with PJ Washington, you do get a little bit of that defensive factor as well. He's kind of an energy player, 3-and-D type of player. It makes sense that I guess people would want PJ Washington on this Chicago Bulls team. I do feel like in sort of the same vein as Coby White, looking at the Charlotte Hornets, I think the Hornets could use a backup guard. I'm not sure who their current backup guard is at the moment, but obviously you've got LaMelo Ball. Nobody's starting ahead of LaMelo Ball at the moment. So maybe Coby White could be a bench option over there and we could maybe get PJ Washington. I'm still not sure that in the situation that the Hornets are in at the moment, Bridges is not going to be on their team. I'm not sure if they're willing to give up PJ Washington, to be honest. What I like about this deal for the Bulls, if we were able to get this over the line, both Coby White and PJ Washington are restricted free agents. We make this trade now, at least we have the potential and power to make a trade for PJ Washington in the future, or we can sign him on long term. It's not really up to him, it's up to us. Restricted free agency is very important in my opinion. So personally, would I do this deal? Yes, I personally would. But I do feel like it would be a lot harder to convince the Charlotte Hornets to give PJ Washington to the Chicago Bulls right now. Especially in their situation. I feel like it's going to be very difficult for most teams to kind of pull trades off with the Charlotte Hornets at the moment. So yeah, that's going to be a very interesting deal if we could get it over the line. I like PJ Washington, and I think most people would take PJ Washington on this team for what he was able to bring off of this bench. But at the same time, I feel like as much as the Hornets need a guard, I feel like they need forwards as well, because one of their best forwards is not going to be there next season, and it's his own fault at the end of the day. But yeah, I would personally say yes to this if we could get over the line, but I find it hard to believe that we could get that over the line. The next one to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is DeMar DeRozan for Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle. Ooh, that's definitely one to kind of decipher here. First things first, I'm not sure if this trade actually financially makes sense for the Chicago Bulls. I think DeMar DeRozan is making around $28 million per season. I'm fairly certain Tobias Harris is making ridiculous amount of money at the moment. I will check his contract just to be safe, but Tobias Harris is making a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. I think he's making around 39 million next season, or 37 million this season, 39 million next season. So he's making 10 million more than what DeMar DeRozan will be, as well as Matisse Thybulle, who I believe has 1 year left on his deal, and he's not making a lot of money whatsoever. But you can almost ensure that Matisse Thybulle would also want to get paid. I'm not sure if that deal works financially for the Chicago Bulls, so I think that's the first turn off there. I can understand the purpose behind making a deal like this, so you could get a little bit more versatile players, I guess, on the defensive end, which many people would like. And DeMar DeRozan is not really versatile on the defensive end. I think many people would like to think he can be, but he's not really shown that he can be. DeMar DeRozan is by far the better player in this conversation, in my opinion, but compared to Thybulle and compared to Tobias Harris. And I think at the moment where we are, I think we need DeMar DeRozan more than what we need from Matisse Thybulle and Tobias Harris. The thing about Tobias Harris is when teammates came around him like James Harden and Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris is making a lot of money. You expect Tobias Harris to kind of still be the man on that type of Philadelphia team, not play third fiddle or fourth fiddle to James Harden and Joel Embiid. I know that sounds cruel because you're talking about James Harden and Joel Embiid. The money that he's on, he should be that DeMar DeRozan type player for them. In all honesty, he should be scoring 25 points per game. He should be a relatively close to a superstar player. That's what we're hoping Zach LaVine's going to be at the end of the day, and look how much money he's making also. So I feel like he's had his time with that amount of money. I think he's shown he's not worth that amount of money, and I'm not sure the Bulls should be taking that risk on that kind of money at the moment. If this does take us to the luxury tax, then I just don't see it happening in general. But I personally would turn down the deal. I think we could go for Matisse Thybulle without giving up DeMar DeRozan. I've already said I would love Matisse Thybulle on this team, but I'm not sure I would like Tobias Harris on this team. And I can honestly say, hand on heart, I don't see Tobias Harris getting traded until the final year of his deal at least. With 2 years on his deal, I don't think there are many teams that are willing to pull the trigger. We did something similar with Otto Porter. Didn't work out very well. He's making $27 million per season. We traded him for multiple years. We couldn't get rid of that contract until the very last stages. So I think the same thing's going to happen with Tobias Harris. Obviously, he's better than Otto Porter, but I'm saying like the same level of what happened with Otto Porter will most likely happen to Tobias Harris. If he does get traded, it will be towards the final year of his deal, probably towards the end of the trade deadline. That's my personal opinion. I don't see the Bulls going for this in all honesty, and I don't really think the Bulls should be going for this in all honesty as well. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about a Cleveland Cavaliers player here in Cedi Osman, ladies and gentlemen. So, this deal would obviously include Coby White, straight swap for Cedi Osman. Looking at Cedi Osman's stats for the Cleveland Cavaliers, playing 66 games, he averaged 10.7 points, 2.2 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 43.2% from the field, 35.7% from the three-point line. His contract situation is actually very good for the Cleveland Cavaliers at the moment as well. He's making $7 million for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He has 2 years left on his deal before he's an unrestricted free agent. So you're getting 2 years of Osman on this team. And that is going to be good to see, in my opinion. I really do not want to trade Coby White for a 1-year rental. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Bulls should be going for anybody that's only a 1-year rental, because we probably won't have the money to bring back that player, whoever it is, next season. We won't have that money. I honestly believe that. If we want to keep this core the same, we're not going to have that money. That player is going to walk for nothing, and we traded a valuable asset which we had restricted free agency over. We had the power with Coby White. We probably could have paid Coby White and gone into the luxury tax as well if he had a good season, and we've lost all bargaining power in that retrospect as well. These are things you've got to pay really close attention to if you're a Bulls team. So at least with Osman, you're getting 2 years out of the situation, and you have sort of leverage if you want to trade him further on. But with him, he's more known as a catch and shoot player, but I feel like there's more to his game than, I guess, just catch and shooting. I'm not too sure about his defense. I feel like his defense at some points is a bit suspect, very similar to Coby White's defense. I feel like in this retrospect, you're trading an offensive-minded player in Coby White for a taller offensive-minded player with some of the similar weaknesses in their game. So it just depends on who you'd rather have, Osman or Coby White. That's just really it, because I feel like the weaknesses are going to be there for both players and the offensive strengths will be there for both players as well. The fact that he's 6'7" is very intriguing to me. I really want a player that can play different positions. Some guys that can play power forward, could play small forward for this team as well. We do need a little bit more help in the wing positions. And Coby White obviously is in a very guard-centric position at the moment. So I think for that reason alone, I probably would say yes to this type of deal, because we do need a different position and Coby White is in a very heavy position already. But if the Bulls use Coby White in a very similar way to the way that they used Cedi Osman over there in Cleveland, then I don't see the point in this deal whatsoever, in my opinion. So yeah, take with that what you will. I tried to make that as clear as possible. Hopefully you understand it. But I'm going to end this video here, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the trades in which I've mentioned, and some are very interesting trades. Again, I never expected DeMar DeRozan to be on one of those trade blocks, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen. And I tried to make this as respectable as possible as well, respectful as possible. At the end of the day, if I disagree or agree with your trades, it is what it is. And I'm trying to be respectful. I'm not saying your trade ideas are wrong or bad. And again, it's up to interpretation, it's up to opinion. And we'll see what happens down the line. If you have any of your trade recommendations, feel free to let me know in the comments below and I'll take a look at it and see whether or not I personally like it or not. But at the end of the day, just because I like it or doesn't like it doesn't really mean anything, does it? The fact that you like it is the most important thing. Whoever comments the trades, if you like it, then I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just giving my opinion on the situation. So once again, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Depending on how many comments I get on this video will determine if I make this type of video again. So if you did enjoy it and you wanted to see another video like this, especially during this time where we don't have a lot to talk about, feel free. Let me know in the comments below any trade scenario that you possibly have, and we'll try to see whether or not it can possibly be done. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.